And I think it's become very, to a degree, cultish of our money is now better than yours. And that was never the message that I got into Bitcoin 14 years ago. It
Yeah.
was, this is a freedom of choice. You can choose into whatever system you want to be a part of. And I feel like it's really antithetical
Yeah.
to some of the folks that have been around the longest saying like, no, well, now
Yeah.
ours is the best and yours is a shitcoin. And I feel like
Yeah.
that's not the attitude. It's, hey, I like this the best and I want to support everything that's out. If you find value in this, like, who am I to say, like, that's your choice to opt into these systems?
This podcast is sponsored by Coin ATM Radar. When buying crypto with cash, an ATM is much more reliable and safer than meeting some random person in a random place. And unlike an exchange, which could freeze your account, you truly own all the crypto you buy. With Coin ATM Radar, you could find crypto ATMs and other services where you can buy and sell cryptocurrencies for cash. On their website, you can search by coin, address, if the ATM supports selling as well as buying, and you can also search by geo area, country, state, city. You can also check and compare actual current fees at different ATMs. If you want to find out more, head over to coinatmradar.com, which is COINATMRADAR.com.
Hey, everyone. I'm joined by the one and only Tyler Spalding. How's it going, man?
It's going a little bit tiring from the week, but it's been going great, man.
Yeah, for sure. This has been a little bit of a crazy consensus, as they always are. But why don't you, for the viewers at home, as they say, why don't you just tell everyone who you are and what you do?
How much time do we have? No, just kidding.
No,
So
5 hours.
yeah, I guess the short version. So I'm the president of the Acronym Foundation. Foundation has just been created to be able to just contribute, issue grants, and build various Web3 projects. So we have a real emphasis towards like anything open source, a lot of DeFi projects, but also a little bit or a stronger emphasis on payments. That's just something where people kind of in the foundation, myself, have had a long history. So that's a little bit more near and dear to our heart, but it really is all sorts of Web3 projects that we just want to get involved with, issue grants, contribute, fund in any way that we can.
Yeah.
Some of the two, so there's three major projects that we have now. One is AMP, which is the collateral token powering the Flexa network. So there's a lot of interesting stuff around that and the growth that Flexa has had. But so we're really just kind of the stewards of the AMP project itself. Then the Digital Spenders Club, which is something we launched recently, which is all then about spending. So digital spending, obviously, and some of the cool innovations we've kind of brought to market to that around like tap to pay technology with Flexa, these new burner cards that we've been able to, you have one right there in your hands. So
show the kids.
Yeah.
This one's still in the plastic, but I've seen them actually in action. They're pretty cool.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of those. And now they have a new clothing line. So they're basically a culture, streetwear brand now. And they launched sort of the first version of their clothing line today or this week that they've been showing folks. And then the third project, Anvil, is something we're also very proud of. It sounds a lot more complicated than it is, but it's a collateral management platform for DeFi. Where you can kind of lock your collateral into a vault and then use this now to issue credit to various entities, people, apps, protocols. We found it really extensible and we're super excited about that. So we're very busy.
Doing a lot of stuff. Well, just to, maybe go back to front, right, on that, the Anvil stuff. So like, what are some of the first use cases of that? Does it sounds it's like a bunch of what one might call DeFi buzzwords.
Yeah, for sure.
Obviously, with your emphasis on stuff that's real, this kind of makes it's kind of interesting to see how that can apply.
Yeah, that definitely. I'm glad you mentioned that. So it's like the emphasis on stuff that's real. Not only is it real, but then we want people to use it. Right? We can build all the great products and things that we think have all this value, but if people literally are not using this stuff, like we're just screaming into the void. And like, especially with crypto, you've been around for a long time. It's like, there's a lot of that stuff. And like, for me, even finding Bitcoin earlier, it's like, I want to use it. I want to
Yeah.
use it. I want my life doesn't have to revolve around it, but I want to use these things. And so, yeah, that's a big kind of feature of every little thing that we've talked about or done is like real world adoption, real world use case, as much as we can emphasize that. So on the Anvil side, so one of the apps that we'll be integrating is a perfect example. So the Bitcoin.com app. So just a consumer app. It's a non-custodial app. They will now accept Anvil letters of credit. So someone will create an Anvil letter of credit, and the app will essentially issue credit to them. So let's say I can hold wrapped Bitcoin or something, and then I can get a USDC credit for that in their app. And you could use that for a variety of things. You get it to trade if you want. So it's essentially like a non-custodial, margin trading, which I know in this audience, there's a lot of people that like to do that.
Yeah.
Or they can, the Bitcoin.com platform has a very large like gaming integrations. Their users of it's the things they really like to do. And so that's something I don't want to steal their thunder revealing too much about how they're rolling it out and what they're doing. They have some really cool marketing plans for that, promotions, but you can essentially now, get credit to game or trade or whatever you'd want through their platform, right? And it's very similar. You could make the arguments very similar to a Compound or Aave.
Okay.
But now the entity or the app is the one issuing the credit. So that's really where the differentiator is they can have an interest rate or not, or they can fix it, or they can maintain easier repayment schedules, or all of these things. And also now is like sort of an interface or opportunity to communicate with their customers more. It's not just like set it and forget it. We never talk to you again. So those are really good, we think, opportunities. And so far these, partners that are looking to integrate have seen that and said, this is something that just gives them a lot of flexibility rather than relying on all these other third-party apps or structures, or especially when you're using things like Aave or Combo, which are amazingly great products, but they're full market products. So there's going to be the various rates. You're going to be subject to what they're then doing. But what we essentially Anvil allows is for the app to issue the credit itself, which we think is pretty powerful. So
definitely a lot better and more direct than just like plugging into Celsius or whatever. Which,
that's a whole nother interview.
That can get you rugged faster though. If that's what you're looking for.
That's actually the big thing is we're trying to say like you can't really get rugged through this is because it is transparent. You can see it. And again, nothing is perfect by any means, but it's a lot of flexibility, and that's and it's also a very, very simple. You always say integration. It's really just, can you read a smart contract and an address, right? There's really nothing else that's required. We did release an SDK recently that will enable you to kind of put this within the app and make it all seem native and make it a lot easier for users, but you don't have to do that. It's literally just, hey, do you have an address? People can write a letter of credit to you and you're off and running. In fact, there was a person here in our community who was telling us about this. He's like literally issuing loans to people like in the community. He went in Discord and said, hey, I'd like to use this. I have some stables that I can offer to loan to people. Would anyone like to give me a letter of credit? And he's been doing that. And he got takers and they're doing it. So he's essentially, become the issuer of that, which has been cool. So like giving people the power to do that. And that was really cool for us to see, like the real world uses of that, like people kind of figuring that out.
Does it run on any particular chain, or can it be deployed on a few different chains, or what? How does that work?
Right now it's only Ethereum layer 1. And it could, obviously based on the use of what people are looking to do, all the options could be on the table. But for now we stuck there because we thought that it was it's just the safest in terms of the most predictability.
Like building block one.
And it's also just got, great network security over everything. Not that the others are bad by any means. There's no shade thrown to anything else other than, hey, if we really want this to be this vault that can be used as like this extensible thing where people can see it and say, hey, I trust this code. We've had it, audited, the course of a full year and the time we put in. So nothing's ever 100%, but you could see it and then know that they just have a really, really solid security, and then what the assets are and using all the available standards. And that was just our approach to it. But at the end of the day, what the users want, what they'll use, we can evolve that for sure. We're still here. That's part of what the foundation will do is kind of keep building, keep contributing, listening to people and say, well, what is the thing that is most interesting to you? And like, it's very extensible. We can build a lot. So
Yeah. Well, that's definitely, something that's missing in the space is just a lot of those practical things. And so like this whole real world. So have you found over the years that the actual like desire to use crypto in more of a real world way has sort of faded a little bit? Because obviously in the early days, everyone's like, oh, Bitcoin, it's like the new freedom money. Everyone can use this. People went crazy over that. And then that kind of became more of like a digital gold or a stock or kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then people started doing, DeFi loans, all kind of other stuff, but it became very like degen heavy and institution heavy and stuff. And then there's just like, you seem to be one of those, what I would call like fellow islanders out on the island that's still focused on this kind of stuff. Have you seen kind of like, do you think crypto's lost its way a little bit, or is it just grown to a level to where it's included everyone else and the people who've still been on the true path, as it were, are still here?
That's an awesome question.
Yeah.
So,
you can answer it almost any way you want.
Yeah, no, I think I have a really nuanced answer to it.
3 more hours on the battery life. Yeah. Let's go.
I feel like it's, let's see. Obviously with the speculation of crypto and the allure and the media and what gets talked about and how, there's been all this deluge of people coming in. And I think a lot of them haven't had that narrative early on, haven't recognized the narrative, or just frankly aren't really interested in a lot beyond just speculation and number go up. And that's the same for any technology, right? You go back to obviously in the early internet days, it was exactly the same sort of mentality. The really early people, I've been a little disappointed with, honestly, in that it has shifted from this is the new money of choice, or a way to opt into new types of money. And I think it's become very, to a degree, cultish of our money is now better than yours. And that was never the message that I got into Bitcoin 14 years ago.
Yeah.
It was, this is a freedom of choice. You can choose into whatever system you want to be a part of. And I feel like it's really antithetical to some of the folks that have been around the longest saying like, no, well now ours is the best and yours is a shitcoin. And I feel like that's not the attitude. It's, hey, I like this the best and I want to support everything that's out. If you find value in this, like who am I to say, like, that's your choice to opt into these systems. So I've been a little disappointed of how it has, and I totally understand that, by the way, of now how Bitcoin has become more ossified. It really is more of this store of value and this digital gold narrative, which is obviously a very compelling narrative.
Yeah.
And I mean, it has to be, right? It's one. People that are still hating on Bitcoin and say, oh, Bitcoin, you've already lost. You've lost for years and years and years. Like these people, you don't just keep resetting the clock. It's like, this thing is worth trillions of dollars. Like it's one. Like it is there. It has this what it has now become. It has won.
Yeah.
There's
got escape velocity to where
there's no arguing anymore.
Like, that's one of those things because, I've kind of been a little bit of a critic of a lot of stuff that Bitcoin's done over the recent years. And there's some, there's like some things like the security budget that haven't really been figured out long term. But at the same time, I kind of also have to acknowledge that so many people have so much money in Bitcoin that they're not just going to be like, well, I guess it might go to zero. Like, they're going to figure something out. People with lots of money have it because they're good at not losing that money.
That's true. But the positive side to the question is that there actually has been much more usage, I think, of crypto than anyone is really aware of. And it's done sort of just it's so unsexy as it should be that it's not in your face, right? You look at, I know Dash is a perfect example. I remember years ago, I first even got more introduced to the project. They were telling me how there were shopping malls in Argentina using Dash natively. And I was like, what? And they're saying all this stuff. And I was like, wow, there's so much more real world uses of this as like just pure utility. And they had all these various integrations, these large malls, like merchants were accepting it natively. And that's just never been written about from what I've seen. And I have to hear it from people in the industry. And then there's things like MiniPay, right, in Africa that has like tens of millions of users, I think now. That is just like,
what does that use? I haven't actually heard
Opera.
of that.
So it's like a Opera browser. I think like an extension. See, I haven't even used it, but I've heard about it. They originally partnered with Cello. I think maybe they still are then using some of the Cello assets. But it's just been like widespread use.
Yeah.
And for people that are, and obviously there's the whole remittance angle, which
Of
gets
course.
talked about, but uh, I want to say normal, but media people is like, it's boring now. It's like, oh, there's remittances. Okay, great. So as that number keeps increasing and as people are finding value in that, there's no stories to be written. And so I feel like the huge adoption, there's more groundswell of adoption that is taking place, is just sort of not in our face. We don't really see it. It doesn't get reported in the same way. So I'm kind of like, I have both opinions where it's been a little disappointing that some of the adoption or interest is going down. Meanwhile, on the side, I think it's been going up pretty significantly. And like people that, I talk to, businesses, people just on the ground. I mean, you hear this all the time around like USDT on Tron is like getting used now at like 40 or 50 cent transaction fees, right? Like people are opting into that and using that. Like clearly people are then using that network for all sorts of payments. Like, and that's just happening, right? And you could dig in, well, is it, various types of gaming or other speculation or whatever, like, sure, but they're using this stuff and they're using the stable coins on these networks that isn't getting talked about the same. And
I have paid people in some developing countries in the last couple of years, and they always ask for Tether on Tron.
There you go.
And so I'm not doing any gaming stuff. I pay for real goods and services.
Yeah, services. Yeah. And that's even for me. So that's been a really cool thing is that with our foundation now, every single service that we've received, we've paid for in crypto. Everyone. So legal, compliance, tax, accounting, other services, development services, every single expense has been done in crypto. And so that was something that 5 years ago wouldn't have been possible. And now it's, and now I'm also comfortable. It's turned this corner of this is what we are doing now. To work together, you need to accept crypto. And, they've done that. So there's been a few even like development shops or people that have looked to get involved in some of our projects and they've never received crypto before and they're not against it. I just said, hey, here's what we need to do. There's exchanges you can onboard with or whatever it is. But like for us to work together, we need to pay in crypto. That's just going to be our ethos and that's how we're set up. And they've done it. I've actually had 0 people say, no, we're not going to do that or we can't do it. So that's again like a major shift. So I'm actually way more bullish on the use than ever before. But if you took a step back and tried to read that, in the mainstream media or narratives, otherwise you wouldn't see it. Just it's unsexy, but that's what shows there's real progress.
I've noticed because it used to be sexy. That's the thing is, and like I remember in the early days, especially in New Hampshire where I live, there were like in a tiny town of 20,000 people or whatever, there was like 20, 30 storefront businesses taking crypto and people were paying, they were holding the cryptos, like all this stuff. All the early Bitcoin adopters and other cryptos were super energetic about that. And that part is like dried up pretty significantly. On the other hand, for the tools that I use to spend crypto, it's so much easier than it was back in the day. It just, instead of like, oh, I got a like 20 mom and pop merchants I go to, then I got a friend who will like pay my like electricity bill and I'll pay him back in crypto. And like, instead of all that stuff, that's all gone. But it's like, I just go to a bill pay company, pay. I can go get Walmart gift cards. I can just do everything super easy. It's kind of funny how like the community-led, energized sort of like, as you point, it's sexy kind of thing, just like died. But the actual like under like the infrastructure, like someone's keeping these companies I use in profit, like BitRefill, the famous gift card / phone minutes / whatever that, company out of Stockholm, they got like 70 plus employees and they don't like, they've been running for a decade.
They're around a long time.
Someone's paying them.
Yeah.
Someone's buying crypto stuff with
People
them.
are using it.
And that's literally their entire business model. And somehow they feed enough mouths that's like more than a lot of crypto projects, entire like dev team and biz dev team and everything. So someone's using crypto.
Absolutely. No, it's definitely happening. It's just, again, those aren't that's not covered anymore. And it's so easy. Just, it's not top of mind. People are looking for the other use cases and not only that, there's a lot of negatives and obviously negatives will increase the endorphins, as you're reading a lot more quickly. So, hacks or scams or thefts or prison sentences or all of these things are the things that a lot of times dominate the headlines, and then it taints people's views of like, well, I don't really want to look that further at some of this stuff. And so, and that's that's always the what we've talked about, and some of the stuff that we've worked as, like all these technologies bring a lot of that as well, right? The one that some of the folks I've been working with, they say, the with the invention of the first plane also came the
First
invention
plane
of
crash.
first plane crash.
Like literally a week later.
Yeah.
Like,
And that's part of it, right? So as long as the net positive is there, which we obviously believe that it is, then it's going to be worth doing. And so far we've seen that. So that's why I've been still almost decade and a half doing this stuff, and couldn't be more excited. Clearly we're doing these sorts of things here.
Yeah.
We're still putting a lot of time and effort and we enthusiasm into it.
Yeah, well, pivoting to consensus a little bit. So here consensus is personally my second consensus. Very big event, obviously. 80% of the talks or something are on stable coins, and then the other like 15% are on like regulations, and then you have like bank people, like Amazon AWS is over there,
the
and like
bank people.
yeah, and then there's even a Trump that came by and like show his stuff. And then there's this like shining light of nostalgia here, which obviously played in with the blockchain via the blockbuster kind of nostalgia and everything. But it is kind of like, remember when crypto was money type thing, and we're kind of, what do you feel about this juxtaposition here in consensus? Do you think, is it kind of like the black sheep of consensus, or are you kind of like the cool uncle of consensus? How do you get the vibe from the people that are coming by here?
Definitely more the cool uncle, because we're just providing, let's see. So I guess consensus itself is just more, as it's gotten a lot bigger, right? There's a lot more institutional interest. There's a lot more just like TradFi interest. And this is where it's sort of migrated more. I think a lot of the smaller conferences have really focused on the builders and the tech, which just to be totally honest, isn't a 20,000 person conference, right? For that sort of activity.
Yeah.
And so that's where this being CoinDesk being this media company has really just evolved to. So that's more what it's catering to. Not necessarily for better or worse, just that's how it's evolved. And so there's definitely though other builders or people in the ecosystem here. And for us, that's why we like adding in is like this little bit of an alternative to also show like, hey, there are things you can still do. These are these real use cases. And then for us, why we do these sorts of kind of build outs is we can be very serious. We build very serious things, but we can be very approachable and fun. And who doesn't want to come in and just look through some of these things without like, oh, they're going to shill me something. They're going to try to sell me on some layer one or some roll up or some other token or something else that like I don't want to know about, or another trading service where there's 1,000 of these that all exist. And like, I just want to like be here and kind of learn more and maybe even be onboarded in a way that's just much more accommodating and fun, and not just like, I want to spin some wheel to win something, right? Like, it's like, hey, we're here for them as well. Like, it's a whole community initiative. So it's not just about us trying to sell you something. It's like, can we make you, or not even make you, can you feel excited and part of the community of what we're doing, and like bring in with all of us,
of course,
and like kind of grow together. And like the way to do that is just to be very approachable, fun, have no pressure at all. And we feel like that's, and when people come in here, they have a smile on their face.
Yes.
They're excited to do it. The amount of selfies we've seen, the amount of videos we've seen, like that to me is what it's about. And it's underlying then real world use, in that we've got, we gave out literally thousands of hardware wallets to people like in the past 2 days.
Oh yeah. Those cards.
That's right. The one you showed earlier, those are, EVM wallets. And so now there's thousands of people that have crypto in their pocket and that they didn't have before. And so they're probably into crypto in some degree, but now as they learn more about that, what this can be used for, especially then payments, like that makes, that's it. Like we've done it to where people are proud and happy to have these things. We don't have to show this. We just build something that's fun and people are a part of it. And then that's where we think a lot of the growth and enthusiasm comes from.
Yeah. I mean, it is a bold move also to be like the only booth here that doesn't give away socks. Because socks have been the consensus trick this year. I mean, I've already gotten a few pairs, especially from the fun people over at SwapKit. They got great black socks. I think they're out though. But yeah, no socks, but plenty of other stuff here.
Yeah.
So what could people do to help out Anvil? I keep on hearing about like all the stuff that you guys are doing to like help out crypto and the spending ecosystem, the real world stuff. And obviously there's some people, you know, the money comes from somewhere, everything else comes from somewhere. But for people who aren't trying to, maybe not like projects like, you know, like mine trying to leech off of you guys. For the other thing, we're not trying to get something.
Mm-hmm.
People want to give. How could they give?
So I think that really depends just on the person. So my advice to any of this around our project, your project, is just literally go into Discord. Like crypto projects are very unique in that there's so much done openly and there's so much open access communication, right? These aren't these total walled gardens of being able to learn more, talk to the people that are like literally in these communities are doing stuff. And that to me is just step one in that. Just go into Discord, ask questions, find just all the quick resources. They're all available, whether it's technical documentation, whether it's videos. Like our foundation, I even produced a series of videos that literally talk about what Anvil is, how it all works. It was basically like a somewhat simpler version of our white paper, just saying, here's what it is. Like, here's what we believe in. Here's why we did this. Like, here it is. And you can get access to all that stuff. And it's all there. It's all public. And just learn, just see what's there. And then what do you find interesting? And like, we hope we have something that's interesting. If not, there's lots of other projects that will have something that could be interesting. And when you see all that, then you can start figuring out, how could I contribute? And you can either just ask people of whether it's any sort of development, whether it's community events, whether it's other sort of marketing, whether it's other sorts of content. Like it's really the entire ecosystem is there. And just figuring out what you're the most interested in and how you want to participate, like it's all available.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, well, thanks very much for chatting. It's been a great consensus. Obviously, you guys are the star of the show here. Where are you off to next? Any more fun?
No,
depending on when people see this, I don't know.
We just gotta keep building some stuff. So that's we've even met a lot of other partners or people that are looking to get involved with our projects. So now we have a kind of a full product roadmap. Not that we didn't already, but now there's even more of like, okay, we gotta go deliver on a few more things now. So that's really exciting. So we got a full plate of stuff to do. And yeah, that's another thing about coming to this conference is, you know, being able to talk more with folks like you. I mean, you've been around for so long and what you've done and like stayed true to that vision. I mean, that's awesome. So that's also then motivating to us to see you around doing this. And still it's like, man, he's still doing it, right? We love that. So that's even motivating to us also.
Yeah. Well, thanks very much for chatting. It's been great. And yeah, I'm sure I'll bump into you in like a next conference, like a week or so.
For sure.
Odds are.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Cool.
Sure,
yeah,
man.
good
Thank
chatting,
you.
Dude.
Yeah.